Greetings everyone, and welcome to another ID 110 assignment video. In this week's work, we will be finalizing the work for the class. We will be doing our last assignment for the class, and it will be the final work really for the semester. So I'd like to introduce some of the information first, and then we'll go into a little bit of detail. The assignment will involve using work that you've produced over the course of the semester. This will be the hand drawing work that you've done, and so we'll want to have that available and working with that during this assignment. We will also be using technology again. We will be using software to help us complete the assignment. And there'll be more information on this in just a bit as we go into more detail on that. Also, you need to know that next week will be our final gathering, and so we will be doing a set of short presentations. In fact, you, the students, will be doing the presentations of the work that you'll be working on this week. And so next week will count as really the final score. There will not be a final exam. This will serve as a final project for the semester. And again, more detailed information will be provided on that just a little later in this video. So one more thing that's probably worth mentioning is that next week we'll also need to be reviewing your portfolios. And so this is a relatively simple matter, but we'll be doing more like a review check than an assessment. But again, we'll talk a bit more about this later in this video. So let's get into the assignment more and look at some of the detail of what we're asking you to do. As mentioned, you'll be working with the information that you've already been that you've created this semester in the way of drawings and past assignments. Using your work, you're going to create a summary collage, and that collage will be representative of a span of work that you've started at the beginning and then here towards the end of the semester likewise. So that will all be put together as kind of a sampling of multiple pieces into a composed single piece, single board, single drawing or illustration, collage piece. So let's take a look at some of the specific requirements and steps in doing this work. So to do this, to complete the work, we'll need to enter the information into some sort of data file. And to do this, I'm suggesting that you either use your digital camera or your smartphone or some other scanning device to take the information and to get it digitized into some data format. That will then each piece should then be placed in a data file or a folder with all that information on there. And so each piece will then be entered in and available for your use in the assignment. So once this is complete, then what we'll want to do is take a look at each of the assignments that you've done, and this is you doing that and making a decision on which assignments you want to put in this collage. It should represent multiple pieces, as I mentioned, not one or two, but maybe 5 or 6 or 7. I don't know. You're going to have to decide on what works best. So as you do that, you're going to then compose these pieces onto a 18 by 24 inch sized slide or formatted illustration. And this will be done with software. Now, a word about the software that you use. As you are scanning and photographing your work, you're going to want to be thoughtful what software you're going to use for this. Now, we've created a detailed or a sampling of what tools work very well in Microsoft types of software. And specifically, that would be like Microsoft Publisher or Microsoft PowerPoint, and where you would just be making a single slide or a single illustration with the tools that are provided. And so we've provided that in a video for you. If you say that, gee, I'm pretty good with Photoshop and I know Photoshop, then I would encourage you to format your work in PDFs and use the appropriate software that Adobe makes or other similar software for that type of file format. Additionally, if you're used to if you're used to using a Mac and not a PC, I'm okay with that too. You just need to make your plans organize your plans, especially as you're photographing or scanning your work, so that your file formats are all consistent. With that being said, regardless of which software you use, I really want you to exercise the software in terms of being creative and trying different scales, different tools within each software to bring out some special quality or characteristic, or to express something that maybe needs just a little bit more emphasis with the software tools that are being used. So with that in mind, we want to then use those tools to compose the software and then compose the final work. And then from that final work, you're going to then save that as a file. Now, a couple other things that you're going to need to place on that final board is you're going to need to provide titles. You should understand that the drawings that you make may be understandable to yourself but not to others. So it's important to label each of the drawings for what it is. And then after you've done that, then you're going to need to identify the board or the illustration with a title block. And in that title block, you want to provide some sort of information about, your name, the class name, maybe the assignment name, or a combination of the semester and year with summary collage or some sort of reference like that as a name. And so please do describe what the board is or what the illustration is, so that it will be clear to those looking at the information what you're doing. So here's some important rules that we want to provide in this assignment. One, I don't want you using color. No color at all. I want you to use black, white, and gray, so that the printing on the finished work will just be in tones and hues. Tones and shades, but no hues. So no color, please. The other thing is that the work needs to be formatted so that you can plot it later on at an 18 by 24 inch format. So please make sure that you set up the information that way in your initial settings for when you're working with the software. Additionally, we're going to want to plot it at 11 by 17, which is the standard size we've been working with all semester. This way, the information that you create in this collage can go into your portfolio. And then we need this completed and uploaded by 4 o'clock, not 4:30, 4 o'clock on Monday, the 18th, which is when we will be convening our final class meeting and going from there, or presenting our information. So that will get you to the place where you need to be to present. So please have all that done in advance. Don't be working on it at the last minute. Please plan your time according, because I'm going to need you to join us at 4:30 for a Zoom meeting, and that Zoom meeting will also include the presentations of each of these illustrations, these collages by each student. So you, the student, need to kind of think about, what is it? Why did you pick the materials that you did, and why did you orchestrate this illustration the way you have, so that we can understand that. And you need to present that to us in about 2 to 3 minute oral presentation. And what we want to do is we want to understand, the what, where, and why you chose the materials that you did. We want to know maybe what worked best for you, what you discovered as a process of creating the collage and mixing these different illustrations together. What was maybe in the collection of work, what was your favorite, maybe what was the hardest thing to do, or what was the best thing, or maybe the most rewarding. In either case, it's just a way of sharing some information about, the collage work that you've done. And please be free to add any additional information as necessary to kind of complete that. 2 to 3 minutes isn't a long time, but it's enough that if you want to organize your thoughts and you want to write them down, that might be a good way to present and remember, what elements you wanted to share with others in the presentation. For those of you who are, having a little bit of challenge with the language, I would be okay if you wanted to read, your presentation, but just make sure that it has the information in it that we've just discussed. That will help us understand, more about your presentation while reviewing your work. So as you are finishing your presentation, I will then engage your work, and I will offer, some constructive comments that might assist you in understanding, how these things are viewed by others. You'll have spent time with it and you'll have your own perspectives, but from a presenter standpoint, it's sometimes good to get feedback from those being presented to. So we will do that, and then I will be setting aside a score for that presentation and the collage work itself. So as we get done with that, we will have a time set aside for a very short portfolio review. And when I say that, I mean maybe less than a minute. What we're really looking at is making sure that your work is in a portfolio, and maybe all we have to do is fan through it in a way that I can see that your work has been placed, in a protected portfolio type of environment, so that you can have this information going forward with other coursework, and just as a representation of the body of work you've done in this semester. So as a result, we'll have just a few minutes of that. And as I mentioned, it'll be just a basic check. So don't get overly concerned about having to go through a lengthy description of a lot of things. We'll talk in general about, how they should be organized and all that other type of information. So with the review of your collage assignment and your presentation and the portfolio, I can finalize the scores for the class, and I can issue a final grade for the class in the next day or so. Probably do that in the following day, on maybe on Tuesday or so. So please view the additional video that we've provided, that demonstration video. Please do explore and experiment with the tools. I think many folks find this a fun exercise, and I want you to kind of really empower yourself to push yourself out there a little bit graphically. This is a safe environment to do that, and I think it will help to build your skills as well as provide you with a final assignment. Also have some fun with it. Like I mentioned, the collage should be kind of a nice capstone statement about what you learned and how how you put things together from beginning to end, or just what things you really liked about the drawings that you were doing. So also put some thoughts into the words that you want to share in the presentation, so that we can understand your ideas a bit more. Also, please be on time for this next class meeting. Some students have come late, and that's very unfortunate. Being the fact that you should be able to be in a place early enough, I think we would like to have you there and ready to go at 4:30 as mentioned. And so until then, I want to offer you good luck with your assignment. I look forward to seeing what you put together and hearing your presentation. And with that, I will say, please take care, be safe, be healthy, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time we meet. So long.